the Pittsburgh Steelers, Mike Tomlin, has officially proven everybody wrong. And it's kind of fun to watch. It's kind of fun to see. And when you're looking at this, everybody was wondering. And by the way, if you're not sure what we do here, we're a couple of guys. We're Detroit Lions fans. We don't hide that in any way, shape, or form, but we love NFL football. So we decided to make a second channel that talks about just different teams around the league that we like watching or that we think are well-run organizations. Some maybe don't get the love that they deserve. Steelers don't really fall into that category. But we need to absolutely talk about what has happened over the last couple weeks. I think everybody started getting kind of comfortable with what Justin Fields was doing at quarterback. And Mike Tomlin says, look, I've been here. I'm with an organization that's only had 3 coaches in 55 years. I've been here for 15 or whatever years, however many years he's been there. He's like, I'm going to do what I want. And he was actually pretty honest. Like when he was talking to people, when I was watching the first broadcast, I think it was NBC that was talking about it. And he said, look, I just want to see what Russell can do. He didn't know how long it would be. He just wanted to see what this offense could be with Russell Wilson as the quarterback. And by the way, is anybody questioning that anymore? All right, he goes out, plays well against the Jets, goes out, the Giants. It's really, really good. And he's played well. So I'm going to come in here and give you some stats and figure out, because Russell has looked good. That throw to Pickens on like a outpost was one of the nicest throws I've ever seen in football. And all of a sudden he has unlocked guys like Pickens and the guys that just weren't there. So the question is why? All right, let's look at some stats here about Justin Fields. As you can see over here, this is on PFF. He is good at running the ball. He's 4th amongst all graded quarterbacks in design run, or the amount of design runs, 4th in design run yards. But here is what it does, and here's the difference between Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. Because everybody thought Fields could be Wilson, like a young Wilson. He doesn't improvise. For a guy to have the athletic ability that Justin Fields has to be 4th in design yard runs, but 48th in scrambled yards, it just proves, or scrambles, 48th in scrambles, it just proves that he doesn't scramble. He runs the play that's called, which to an extent is good, but he needs to be able to improvise. But look at this stuff when it comes to, and we can't look at the stuff, like passing snaps and stuff like that because he's sat the last 2 games. But average depth of target, 28th in the NFL. All right, average time to throw, 5th. His biggest bugaboo was that he held the ball too long and got sacked, so they called a bunch of plays to get the ball out quickly. That's why he's 28th in average depth of target, only 7.7 yards per target. Pressure to sack rate, 26th. So in other words, if teams are getting pressure, they're sacking him. So he's one of the most mobile quarterbacks in the NFL, and he's still getting sacked whenever there's pressure. Big time throws, 22nd. Turnover-worthy plays, 36th. That's not good. Now let's look at Russell Wilson. All right? Designed run yards, 21st. Scrambles, 19th. All right? He already scrambles more in 2 games than Fields did in the first 4 or the first 6. Right? But let's move over here to look at this. 5th. Average depth of target, 5th. He's getting the ball downfield into playmakers' hands. Look, you can run effectively. Najee Harris has been better when Russell Wilson comes in. Why is that? Like, I thought when you had, like read option type stuff, it helps running backs. It does. It does. But you know what else helps running backs? When you have to have 2 deep safeties because you have a quarterback who can throw the ball over the top. And you have a wide receiver who is a deep threat consistently. They have those in Pittsburgh. All right? When Russell's playing. Average time to throw, 12th. All right? 2.97. All right? He's getting the ball out quick. All right? But he still is getting it down the field. That's the important part about this. Pressure to sack rate, 23rd. All right? Again, Justin Fields was 26th in this. So even though Russell Wilson is old, all right, especially by NFL standards, right? Even though he does not have the wheels that he used to have, he still is getting out of sacks more. Big time throws, we can't really count that. He's 32nd, but he's only played 2 games. And turnover worthy plays, he only has 1 in those 2 games. He only has 1 throw that has been turnover worthy. All right, and it didn't turn into a turnover. So the team has played better. All right, the team has played better with him against a good and an okay defense. It seems to function better. The question I have for all of you is, Russell Wilson, does this make you happy? Or did you hope that it was going to be Justin Fields? It feels to me, and by the way, I've made trades in fantasy football to get Fields on my team, but I always made sure Russell Wilson was part of the package because I was always worried that this could be something that could happen because Mike Tomlin doesn't care. All right, other coaches would have waited till they started losing. I just want to say that one more time. Other coaches would have waited until they started losing. But because of the way the organization is run with the Pittsburgh Steelers, because the trust that Tomlin has had with that organization, he can do whatever he wants. He can do what he wants. He doesn't have to sit here and wait till they start losing and they're falling out of the playoff hunt. He doesn't have to do that. And by the way, when you look at the schedule coming up, the Steelers have one of the toughest schedules in the NFL. I was just looking at that, actually, when you looked at the Steelers' schedule coming up, and PFF, I think, rated them as like the 2nd or 3rd toughest schedule. All right, some games that should have been tough, and some teams that should have been easy. All right, Washington, that should have been easy at the beginning of the year when the schedule came out. It's not. It's not. All right, Baltimore, you know what that's going to be. Cleveland's always tough, just because of the rivalry. All right, Cincinnati's always tough. Cleveland, all right, back to back to back, all right? Then you go to Philly. Then you go to Baltimore. Then you have Kansas City. And then you end with Cincinnati. So it's either all rivals or good teams. Like, that's a hard schedule. And so you needed to give yourself a quarterback that puts you in position to be as multiple as you can. You need to be able to utilize all your weapons. And I'm not saying there won't be a time that Justin Fields doesn't get back on the field. I think he could. I love the way he handled it. He was super humble. He said, I think if I played better, this wouldn't have been a decision. And now Russell's come in and be like, I can still play. All right, don't believe all the hype in what you saw in Denver. Isn't that funny how that works, by the way? Russell Wilson can go to Pittsburgh with an offense that's struggled over the last 4 or 5 years. All right, now, understandably, you have a new offensive coordinator, but it's not one that had a lot of success in Atlanta. Right? It's not one that had a lot of success. So it's like, all right, that's set up for failure, and it goes really, really well. Whereas you would have thought Russell Wilson in Denver would have gone well, and it didn't. So you're like, oh, maybe Sean Payton's past his time. Maybe the NFL has passed him by. And now Bo Nix is starting to ball out because he is Peyton's boy. It's just the NFL's weird. It's weird. And well-coached teams typically end up being well-coached. And maybe Russell learned some stuff through that whole thing, too, that he brought to Pittsburgh. Just seems like Pittsburgh is a place where players go to thrive. They don't go to get worse when they go to Pittsburgh. They're going to Pittsburgh, and they're going to play better. They're going to be utilized right. And it's just really impressive to see. And by the way, Justin Fields was better in Pittsburgh than he was in Chicago. A lot of the same, but they minimize some of those things. And Russell Wilson, it's just 2 games, has been better in Pittsburgh than he was in Denver. And he looks like he's turning back the clock and playing like he did in Seattle. It's fun to watch, and it makes you guys a legitimate threat. All right, hope you enjoyed the video. If you want more Steelers content, more just NFL content in general, if you're still watching, it's been 9 minutes. You must like something I'm doing, so make sure you hit the like button on this, hit that subscribe button so you can see more videos that we're putting out there, and we'll see you on the next one.